Rent controls or rent freezes are bad news for UK tenants and landlords. And if you're a member of the UK government, listen up, because you need to learn some important things about the way the UK private rented sector actually works. With this cost of living crisis and bills and energy and food and everything going up, there is renewed calls, if you like, for some kind of control of rents. In Scotland, where they have a lefty government led by Nicola Sturgeon, they're already planning to do rent freezes, rent caps and that kind of stuff. And there are even some talk about it here in England and Wales as well. Quite frankly, it's a disastrous idea. We're going to explain exactly why. And I'm not speaking from a landlord's point of view. I'm actually speaking from a tenant's point of view as well. More of that coming up. But first, let me tell you about the Baker Street Property Meet, our monthly networking event for property investors in central London. We have more than 300 investors joining us at the end of each month to network and learn from experienced property investors and developers. Make sure you attend this month's meet. It's a very special one. Tickets are available at bakerstreetpropertymeet.com. So I'm joined to discuss this issue of rent controls by Andrew Roberts. Andrew, hi there.
Hi, Ranjan. Wow, rent controls.
Oh dear, what are these lefties doing in Scotland then?
Well, it feels almost like we've moved to Russia, doesn't it? No oil crisis pun there, please. But no, I mean, in Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon, earlier this year, went to her government and said, I'd like to implement some rent controls. And her government debated it and said, no. But Nicola being Nicola, like everything else, if she doesn't get her way, she comes back and does it again. And this time it was, well, I'm going to implement emergency measures to freeze rents with immediate effect and to stop landlords evicting the tenants. How? Do you not listen to your other ministers, to your public? It's a crazy situation.
It's absolutely crazy. And it's as bad for you as deep-fried haggis or deep-fried Mars bars, really. It's bad for everybody, because what does it actually encourage people to do? Because landlords, at the end of the day, have businesses. They don't have registered charity numbers. Yeah. And they've got costs and things to bear. So a profit has to be made somewhere along the line. And there's potential of, well, not potential, it's a reality that if this happens in Scotland, Scottish landlords will be facing a loss.
Well, that is certainly the case. And reading the representatives of the Scottish Landlords Association, they are stating that their members will withdraw their inventory from the marketplace, leaving a great big hole that government has failed over the decades to provide inventory for. And I actually read an interesting statistic, which was under the Scottish government, since going back as far as Margaret Thatcher, they have not built as many houses and put as much inventory into social housing as Margaret Thatcher did. Now, this is a government claiming to be socialist, claiming to deliver to the people. Yet they're not providing them housing. They're expecting the private sector to provide the housing. And that causes a lot of tensions and problems because, as you say, landlords do it to make a profit. A lot of them do it for a pension fund. Again, the properties themselves will need maintaining. The statistic I read this week was the average landlord spends £1,087 a year maintaining their property. Now, Nicola is doing this because of the cost of living crisis, because inflation is raging, because of government policies to actually stimulate inflation by taking an offence to Russia and other factors and not taking action. But what they're doing is they're actually sitting there on their laurels going, do you know what? Even though the builders' wages are going up, the cost of building materials is going up, doesn't matter, the landlord can run their business at a loss.
No, but you're saying inflation's raging. Actually, I'm raging because a lot of the lefties, if there are any lefties watching this, by the way, if you're not a lefty, Make sure you subscribe to this channel, hit the bell icon. We put out a lot of interesting content for you guys interested in investing in property. But if you're a lefty out there watching this, you're probably thinking, these guys are just, my heart bleeds for you landlords kind of thing, that kind of attitude. But let me explain why rent controls, rent freezes, tinkering with the rental market in this way is bad news for tenants. This is how things work. If, say, there is a cap on room rents, so let's say you cannot charge more than £500 a room per month. What will happen? Well, here's what will happen. Anyone with a room, a fantastic quality room in a great location, which is maybe larger than average or particularly luxury in nature, has no incentive to offer to the market a luxury product where people would naturally pay more for. I mean, it happens with training shoes, for example. You can go out and buy a set of trainers from Primark, or you can spend a lot more and buy from Nike. If there's price cap on training shoes, then Nike have no reason to exist because everyone would make products the same quality as Primark and sell them at that price point. So back to property again. Anyone that's offering a better than average product has no incentive to deliver, and at the lower end, people have an incentive to, because of the drop in supply and the demand not diminishing, anyone with a product that would be priced less than £500 has an incentive to just set the rent level at £500. So the incentivization will be to produce the lowest quality product at the cheapest cost and achieve the £500 rental figure. And the choice for the tenant will be appalling. So people, just like if you want to take a plane to New York, you can choose to be at the front of the plane and get a foot massage or whatever and pay £5,000 a ticket. Or you can sit at the back of the plane, you still get to New York and you pay £500, a tenth of the price or whatever. You have that choice. If there is price control, there's no incentive to produce a better product or service, and all product or service tends to gravitate towards the price cap rate, regardless of the quality of it. That's why it's bad news.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the key point is the bottom of the market comes up and the top of the market exits because they go, it's not worth staying here. There's no winners. No winners.
There's no winners. And fortunately, I think, and we've got to change the government in the UK, Liz Truss is not on the left side, I don't think.
No, well, let me put it like this. Liz, don't trust. We don't know. We don't know. It's early days in her administration, and there's a lot that we could discuss and debate, but I think we'll do that in another video.
We'll do that in another video, but I think that the highlights are, she is low on corporation tax and employer incentives, that kind of stuff, red tape, regulation. And of course, she's been passionately against any windfall tax on energy companies. So her direction of travel is not to tinker with the free market.
Yeah.
So it'll be out of sync with that if she followed suit in Scotland. But there is talk in the UK about limiting annual rent rises, which is a bit strange.
Well, there has been lobbying from one particular MP for a rent rise cap for a period of 2 years. Now, again, if you've got the cost of your handyman and his wages, fees that he's charging you goes up 10% a year, but your rent is capped at 5%, it means you end up with landlords cutting corners and getting bad names, or the quality of the repairs that are done are worse, or worse still, the works that are done are almost elastoplast, make, do, amend type solutions. Yes. So the value of the assets, the quality of the housing goes down, the number and frequency of repairs ends up going up. And there's no incentive for anybody to provide a better quality product.
So in England, basically, there is a proposal to limit rent rises to 5%. That may be irrespective of local demand and all the rest of it. So I think here's the important thing for landlords out there, and I'm going to give you some important tips to prepare for this just in case it happens. I don't think it will, but I think it's worth being ready just in case it does. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more videos. If you're a lefty and you completely disagree with rent, or you think rent control should be in place, then let me know in the comments. Let's have a debate in there, and I'll give you my 2 pennies worth down there as well. What do you need to do? Well, I think, first of all, many landlords since before COVID haven't actually increased their rents because COVID was a hard time period and all the rest of it, so people have not increased rents. I think the important thing to do is to make sure that you set your rents at current market levels. So if a tenant has been in your property for more than a year, increase the rent to current market levels, because remember, what they're proposing in England is a limit on the annual rise. So if you haven't increased your rent for the last 5 years, you might already be 30% under the market rent, which means that when the rent cap comes in, you'll be limited to 5% rise maximum per annum. So make sure the baseline is at current market level. That's very, very important.
Absolutely. Well, the other thing is look at your strategies, because the report from the National Residential Landlords Association, Ben Beadle, when he appeared before the Parliamentary Select Committee, was actually giving evidence that landlords are removing their inventory from the buy-to-let market and moving it into the holiday-let market because there was less stress, less regulation, and greater returns by moving it. So a rent control will only exacerbate the problem of the lack of housing. But again, if you're in a HMO, one of the things you can do is look at how you price and provide your services. We both know landlords who meter the electric per room and they've got their own almost self-contained rooms. So that's one model you could adapt. Alternatively, you could price things literally based on a consumption. Here is your rent. By the way, do you want the Wi-Fi code so that you can access the internet here? Do you want this? Do you want that? And each individual element is priced as an extra. So they fall outside of rent controls and rent caps.
So you charge for energy, maybe furniture rental, internet provision, use of washing machine, stuff like that. So you will have let's say you rent a room in an HMO for £750 a month. The total rent is £750, but then in the contract, the rent amount might be £600 because the rest of the rental amount is made up with bundled services. Yes. So it's a bit like Ryanair, £29 flight, but it's £5 for baggage, £10 for priority boarding, all this sort of stuff. Yeah. So the ticket price appears lower. So remember, when you unbundle the services, the rent cap will just be on the raw rent element, which means the rest of the amount is free to increase price on to market levels.
Now, I hear the audience here probably going, what? You're going to charge for internet? We need to provide that as part of our service package. Well, if it's costing you £50 to provide the internet to the whole building per month in your contract with, say, Virgin, Sky, BT, whoever, then you give them a choice of paying £10 per month, knowing that if they go elsewhere, they get a dongle or whatever, it's going to cost them more than £10 a month.
Yes.
So they have value, but they have choice.
Yes. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. But I think whenever the government tries to tinker with the free market, what happens is that people that want to sell goods and services in that free market have a choice. They have a choice whether they want to spend their time providing that service or not. Yeah. And if the government wishes to control or set a price that is not worth the while of the private sector to deliver that service, then they have to step in and do it. And it's either they're prepared to do that or they're not.
And evidence demonstrates they have failed to deliver that during the last 20 years. More has been provided by the private sector than the state sector.
From the landlord perspective, of course, interest rates are going up. They'll edge up a little bit in the near future. And if you're not careful and you don't make sure your rent levels stay at market levels, then you can easily find that your buy-to-let investment is actually making a loss. We don't want you to do that, of course. We want to keep your property businesses profitable. So make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon to receive our weekly update videos to keep you guys on the right track.
And if you want to find out more and quiz us in person, join us at the Baker Street Property Meet the last Wednesday of every month in central London.
This month we're at the 28th of September, Wednesday 28th of September in the evening in central London. Tickets are available at bakerstreetpropertymeet.com. We're looking at commercial property auctions. We've got two of the partners from Allsop Commercial Auctions to share with us some of the amazing opportunities that are emerging from investing in commercial property as the UK heads into recession. So join us at the Baker Street Property Meet, bakerstreetpropertymeet.com for tickets and all of that. And we'll see you guys in the next video.
Look forward to meeting you all down at the Baker Street very soon. You live in the USA.
I do live in the
You're over
USA.
here on business.
Yes, I am.
And you've made a special trip to come here to the Baker Street Property Meet.
The quality of people here is better than quite a lot of the other meets.
Come all the way from California, and it's one of the reasons why I'm here, to meet like-minded people, other investors, build my network, and continue learning and growing in the property industry.
I found it's quite informative, and I can meet a lot of amazing people, so I keep coming.
Great knowledge in a great environment with like-minded individuals.